kind of giving them a little bit of money to kind of go off and make a proof of concept. The idea was to create a serialized, comedic, epic sci-fi adventure with a plethora of heart. But all these things that I watched throughout my life inspired this idea. Movies like Interstellar, Moon, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Sunshine, Battlestar Galactica. This was going to be something special. Something really special.
I don't even know where to begin. First off, sorry for disappearing for a month. Definitely wasn't intentional, and I'm going to try to do better. Secondly, Final Space is underrated as hell. For a show that was hitting its peak when it came to its storytelling, to get cancelled just like that was surprising and undoubtedly disappointing. Now I'm going to assume there are some of you who are watching and wondering, what the hell even is Final Space? So I figured a quick rundown is needed. Final Space. Final Space is an adult animated television series created by the talented Olan Rogers and developed by himself and David Sachs. The series involves an astronaut named Gary Goodspeed and his immensely powerful alien friend Mooncake, and focuses on their intergalactic adventures as they try to save the universe from certain destruction. How we see this from start to finish is absolutely fantastic. Final Space is such a fun ride. That's going to be my go-to statement for this video. From the characters to the world building to the storytelling, it all has a nice and consistent flow to it. Throughout the 3 seasons, we see these characters that we grow to love go through so much emotional baggage, whether that's falling in love or dealing with a loss or suffering from loneliness. This series nails that. But most importantly, it's about this family, this group of complicated individuals sticking together to deal with a looming threat that quite literally threatens to erase everything they know and care for. One thing I need to commend Olan for is hitting that family aspect just right. I absolutely loved seeing everyone together and working as a team. I loved seeing the team squad being the team squad. Gary Goodspeed out in space, running into all sorts of people and eventually befriending them and building that family that he never had. And as the seasons progress, we begin to see that family crumble. This omnipotent force that we will soon know as Invictus, the big bad of the show, manages to break free and really mess things up. I mean, people die, some learn the unbearing truth, and some change for the worst. And just when you think things can't possibly get any worse, the show comes to an end. That's it. Done. Finished. Final Space is cancelled, and I was enraged. For weeks, I was pissed and completely lost for words. How could they do that? How could things just end like that? Did Adult Swim or TBS just decide, fuck it, this shit ain't worth it? Like, what in the actual fuck? And then I realized, sure, I can get mad all I want, but it won't change anything. Not only do these things happen, but I would much rather spend my time appreciating what I have and what joy Final Space brought to me and many others. Joining a Discord, signing that damn petition, checking in on Olan Rogers and what he's getting up to, and making this very video. I wanted to make this video because I wanted to commemorate Final Space. I wanted to look back on this show and talk about all the stuff that I loved and the things that could have been better. By no means am I saying this show was perfect, but it certainly meant a lot to me and many others. So I mean it when I say this, but I really hope you enjoy. I've been watching Olan Rogers for a good while now. Just like me, he's a fellow YouTuber, and just like me, he has a goal, and that is to tell stories about these worlds and characters that he's conjured up in that wonderful head of his. This man had a story, a really good one. I think it's safe to say that Final Space was that dream project, his ticket to tell that story, and he did it wonderfully. I gotta give credit where credit is due. The fact that Olan was more than just a voice for a character in the show that he created just goes to show how dedicated and passionate he is towards the series. I eventually grew to really enjoy the show all on my own, but I hadn't hit that moment of realization where I had to sit back and think, damn, I freaking love this, you know? We've all had that moment when watching something when we realize, yeah, I love this. This is my new favorite thing. Me on the other hand, nah, not just yet. The moment that I fell for this show was when I watched this, Olan's Goodbye Final Space video. This man poured out his heart and soul in this video. He fought back those tears and tried his utmost best to keep a brave face on the camera. But you can see, hear, and feel how heartbroken he was It hurts to watch that video even to this day because simply put, it's upsetting. It sucks so hard that this show, which had so much potential, was just snuffed out so quickly. Worst of all, it happened at such a crucial moment in the story where things were getting from bad to worse. And you know what? It's not fair. It's not fair on us, and most importantly, it's not fair on Olan. A week later, he uploads a continuation from that video, and he's bounced back. He's not letting the cancellation stop him from doing what he loves, and words cannot express how inspirational that is. It says a lot about the type of person Olan is and the philosophy he lives by, and that's what grew my love for Final Space. So I got this comment like a year ago on one of my videos telling me to go watch Final Space. And like always, I don't think much of it. Then, as fate would have it, I ran into Final Space over on Netflix one day. I remember my exact words. Okay, I guess I'll give this a watch. And man, am I glad that I did. I'll be honest though, I didn't like it at first. The animation looks good, but cheap at the same time. But then over time, it made up for that with various different action sequences. Gary was way too chatty in the first season. I absolutely adore Mooncake. Quinn felt very one note, and Avocado fell somewhere in between interesting and a little bit boring. But it got better. Over time, we saw more characters join the cast, which in turn changed the characters we already have and had them adapt to being more mature. The storytelling was one of the things that got changed from something basic like Lord Commander chasing after Mooncake every episode to these giant godlike titans ripping the very fabric of space itself. The scale for the series kept on getting bigger and bigger, and it really got me hooked. At times you'd have to ask yourself, oh man, how is the team squad gonna deal with this, you know? It's those little steps along the way throughout their journey is what I began to enjoy most about the series. I soon realized each episode felt like a stepping stone for the team squad to reach their final goal. Sorry, cliffhanger, because that was literally how each season would end, and I hated it. Not because it was bad, but because it left me wanting more. If I had to go into what holds this show up, as in what makes Final Space so special, I would simply say it's the characters. Every character has a charm and quirk to them that separates them from the others. Although at times Final Space shows it can handle a large cast like this, at other times, like most commonly in season 2, not all of them had a lot to do, well, nothing noteworthy. However, pitting everything together, such as the animation, the story, and so on, the characters are at the forefront of this show. The seasons do such a great job introducing these characters and then having them grow as time passes on. The first few characters are the ones that stood out to me the most. So let's start off with how I feel about Gary. Gary really wasn't someone I connected with in the first season. As mentioned earlier, he was a little too chatty at times, and it felt like the show relied too much on Gary as the comedic relief. Anytime something was to catch him off guard or try to outright kill him, he would be reacting in a very over-dramatic way. Seasons 2 and 3 saw to this, and we got a more composed, responsible, and slightly more serious version of Gary, and I liked it. I could finally take this character a lot more seriously, and Olan, he listened to the constructive criticisms of his character, he applied it, and quite frankly, he nailed it. Quinn was an extremely one-note character in season 1. It's not until the end of that season that I began to like her. I'm grateful for Nightfall in the entirety of season 2. We see a more experienced, battle-hardened, and emotional side to Quinn, and as much as I wanted to keep this version of Quinn around, Gary says, and rightly so,
I'm not your Gary.
And he's right. Season 3 saw a more developed Quinn. Not only does she open up more to Gary in many ways, but her past is open up to us, the viewers. So in turn, we learn more about her. Avocado was a very interesting character to explore throughout the seasons. In season 1, he felt like the badass sidekick to Gary until his eventual demise. Season 2 brought him back, but didn't focus on him too much, but as a result, made Gary's and Little Kato's relationship a lot stronger. Season 3 handled his character really well. We learn more about the mistakes he's made and have him confront Little Kato. Little Kato was also an interesting character that had a surprising future ahead of him. Pretty much the loyal daddy's boy to both Gary and Avocado. He really ties the team together well in seasons 1 and 2. Season 3 felt like he was a lot more vulnerable in terms of his tragic past, but for the first half, it doesn't exactly focus on him until Ash's story with Invictus intertwines. Ash is probably one of the most fascinating and emotionally damaged characters out of everyone. After making her first debut in season 2, she was very quirky and awkward, her being a child and all. The first half of the season poked around her origins and with her sister Harp for like an episode, and that was it, which was disappointing. But season 3 definitely takes a major turn for the character as we see her embrace her powers, but also Invictus's influence and have her turn on the team squad. The final character, I guess, is Cheryl. I love Cheryl and what they were doing with her character. However, her development / redemption is lacking, and I still don't think she's redeemed herself fully just yet. But I love how they've roped her into the story. Her and Gary finally reunite after years apart, only for her to use him to get a dimensional key and outright resent Gary and blame him for everything, only to get a wake-up call from Hugh, Triborg and Fox that she was the one to blame. And by God, that was so satisfying to see. As for everyone else that I've failed to go into depth about, I really don't have much of an opinion on them. Everybody freaking loves Mooncake, and if you don't, seek help because you're insane. I feel like there's a lot more baggage to Mooncake than the show lets on, but who really knows? Kevin deserves more love and attention, I don't care, fight me on that if you wish. Hugh was great in season 1, arguably the best part. However, in season 2, he becomes the new comedic relief for the series and it got old quick. His love-hate relationship with Ava was humorous at first, but dragged on for way too long. Triborg's sassiness was entertaining to a degree, but also felt like he was unintentionally trying to be funny, and in this show, that never really works out well. Season 3, he was incredibly boring. Fox felt like an extra who didn't have much backstory until the start of the second half of season 3, which then, right after, resulted in his death. But he was one of the more delicate, yet easily tempered characters. Just like Fox, Clarence felt like an extra as well. At moments, I couldn't wait for the show to get rid of him, although he does kind of make a nice sacrifice in season 3. Oh yeah, the Lord Commander. So David Tennant voices Jack, also known as the Lord Commander, and listen, David Tennant is always a win, so yeah, having him there is phenomenal. It's no surprise to anyone how much this show means to the hundreds and thousands of fans globally. Keyword here being global. It goes to show how far Final Space has reached out in the world and the type of people who have connected with the series. And I don't doubt for a second that this show deserves it and much more. A thing I like to do when jumping onto something I enjoy reading, watching or playing is to see the community behind it. Seeing a thriving and active community for Final Space really gives the series purpose and a voice other than Olan's. Almost every day there are dozens of fantastic pieces of artwork dedicated to Final Space being released onto the web, which shows the fans' undying support for the series even after its cancellation. I think it's great that people are still trying to keep Final Space alive by putting out their opinions in the form of artwork. In a way, it's almost like they're telling their own story, or at least putting their own spin on the origins of a characters we've never seen and ones we could have potentially seen. The ideas and fan theories behind some of the opinions put out there are really interesting, and that's one of the best things when looking through at what fans have to say. Everyone's got a voice and everyone's got an opinion. Seeing people express it in different ways about this show not only supports Olan and the series, but also the creator, a fellow fan just like you and me. That's the wonderful thing about fan art and how it can impact a series such as this. The future of Final Space was definitely a bright one, storytelling wise. Network wise, that's another story. No, what I'm talking about is where Final Space left us, and all the countless questions that are still left unanswered. The characters go through so much during this series: love, loss, guilt, anger, and we are left on the most aggravating, shocking, nail-biting cliffhanger. When I was doing some early drafts for this script, I felt like I had to note down some predictions for a season 4, if that's even possible at this stage. Okay, so Ash, she's definitely taken a dark turn, but I believe she's probably the key to stopping Invictus. How they do this, I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I see the team squad having to team up the Lord Commander to take down Invictus once and for all. I feel like we got another Bolo imprisonment situation on our hands, so it'll definitely make things interesting to see where they go with this. Gary's got a lot of making up to do with Ash because I personally feel dissatisfied with the ending of season 3 episode 8 titled Forgiveness. Even though they were working together at one point, things seemed fine between the two, it did feel rushed. Could Mooncake potentially die? Possibly. Or better yet, could he part ways with Gary forever? Or maybe it's Gary who makes the final sacrifice at the end, who knows? Like mentioned earlier, Cheryl definitely needs more spotlight. Her character arc felt sidelined in season 3, but then again, in the grand scheme of things, there just wasn't enough time. So she'll definitely need to earn that redemption. Definitely need to check up on this guy and see how he's handling the big shock and how he plans to deal with it. One thing for certain is that his relationship with Gary and Avocado will drastically change. How bad will it be? I don't know, you tell me. Whatever happened to Evra? Will we ever see her again? Are all the Titans dead? Lord Commander went on a Titan killing spree just to flex on Invictus, and it makes me wonder if there are any remaining Titans left. Finally, there was something hinted at in season 2, but was moved away from towards the end of that season, and then completely forgotten about in season 3. What I'm talking about is the relationship between Little Carter and Ash. In season 2, we got teasers of something possibly blossoming between the two, but it was hard to tell whether Ash's feelings were just her being awkward and obsessive, or if they were genuine romantic feelings. The same goes for Little Carter. And that's pretty much everything. I'm open to discussion about these, so if anything, feel free to state your opinion and your own prediction. As for now, it's time to wrap things up. I don't think I'm ready to let go of Final Space, but I can't ignore the signs that a 4th season or more is very unlikely. As mentioned earlier, it well and truly sucks that Olan didn't get the chance to conclude his series and that everything was just left at a standstill. It's not fair for the viewers to get an incomplete story and see their favorite characters fail. Final Space had so much riding on this 3rd season, and for some it delivered, but for others it didn't. Does Final Space have a future? Personally, I think yes, but just barely. We need to keep it alive as long as we possibly can. Keep hashtagging, keep retweeting, keep on supporting Olan in his endeavors, but most importantly, keep on loving Final Space. That's all any of us can do for it right now. Olan Rogers and the rest of the team deserve the chance to finish Final Space with a proper ending. He and many others have poured their heart into this show and deserve a true final goodbye to Final Space. Thank you so very much for watching the entire video. Not only does it mean a lot to me personally, but it also helps with the channel as well, so thank you, truly. I want to give a massive shout out to all the Twitter artists that I've reached out to who gave me the permission to use their artwork in today's video. Those guys are absolute legends and are seriously fucking talented. Thank you ever so much, you guys are wonderful. Secondly, I have in fact started up a Patreon, so if you are interested in supporting me financially to make more videos like these, you could consider becoming a patron for as little as £4, dollars, euros, whatever. No pressure, it's completely up to you. And lastly, I have linked in the description 2 petitions that, if you sign, will hopefully contribute to the renewal of Final Space for at least one final season. Once again, completely up to you. You'll find the links down below. Thanks so much once again, and I'll catch you in my next video, which will be very, very soon. See you then.